What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel today. As Amaya and I are ready to get into our recaps of the new Netflix reality show, Perfect Match, which is going to be releasing in bundles of 4. So we're going to be reviewing the first 4 episodes, full spoilers. But yes, it'll be 3 videos for you to check out each of the 3 releases. So you have 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, but they will start to premiere on Netflix February 14th. If it's a reality show on Netflix, of course, it is hosted by none other than Nick Lachey. I don't know where his wife is at on this one, but
give me the wife, like, for real.
But Nick is hosting this one solo, which with the Perfect Match, we now have a lot of returning faces from all of the other Netflix shows. Love is Blind, The Ultimatum, Too Out to Handle, The Mole, all of those shows, which I've never watched The Mole, but whatever. As these folks come back now looking for their perfect match at Love. We'll talk about how the game works and whatnot. There will be a lot to discuss with this one. But much like all the other ones, it is certainly worth something to talk about because they are reality shows. And this one, I think for me, and I think we can just start off right here, then I hand it over to you. My interest here is just seeing a lot of the familiar faces that we've seen on these previous shows and just wondering what they're like in a different environment. I mean, yes, we got Love is Blind. We have folks from The Circle, which, you know, you can easily say, like, what is it like when you're outside of this game that's really predicated on winning, getting people to like you? But now you got them in the aspect of like, oh, they're slightly still in the game, but there's like love attached to it. And you have folks, Love is Blind, who now you get to kind of see them go at it without the idea of it just being a, you know, personality versus personality, but a physicality aspect. So like, there's some intrigue with it on that. And then again, it's by the Lachey. So you start to say like, well, there's going to be some drama. It won't be short of that. And here we are. So for the first 4 episodes, I'm going to say it's interesting. That's why we're doing the review. It has its problems, but nonetheless, it's much like the other ones. It's like a bad addiction. You know, you probably want to stop, but you're still here, and you're just like, oh, okay, you got me, and that's sort of been my feeling. But it's been fun. I can't wait to talk about it.
I mean, I saw this guy the other day. He made a meme. He was like, it's like a dumpster fire inside of a house fire, inside of a forest fire. Like, that's what this is. It's literally just fire, like trash on fire. Like, and of course, people are going to watch it because it is very interesting. But my biggest concern, I think every time I watch one of these shows, I start really, and probably because I've been in therapy and like I'm older now, so my view has changed. But I'm always thinking like, damn, these are some traumatic ass experiences that these people are going through. Like, the idea of this show is to find your perfect match, but they also play it as you can only really stay as long as you win the challenges or you keep the power or you and your person match. You know what I mean? So it's like it's weird. Like, do you really want these people to find love, or are you just like playing a game? And I remember us texting back and forth. We're like, these people have to got, you know, probably signed up for like a 3-show deal because these people have been back to back to back in some of these shows, and it's just like, it's a lot. And so yeah, it's hard to look away, but they're all gonna need therapy. Like, every last one of them are gonna need therapy. And I think Nick's wife needed a moment and vacation. That's why she's not here right now.
No, that's for sure. And like, you know, it's folks that we've seen on these previous shows that you truly do root for. So you say, okay, if they're coming back, then, you know, what if they got a fair shake or a fair chance at this? I mean, you got folks like Joey from The Circle, who won Circle season 1. Mm-hmm. You have Nick. What's Nick Monica? I forgot. It's from The Circle season 3. What did they call him? Yeah, it's Big Nick Energy. There we go.
Oh yeah, Big Nick Energy, or Daddy Nick.
Yeah, Daddy Nick. That's what I was thinking about. Shane, who I was a fan of in Love is Blind season 2. I talked a lot about Shane, especially coming out of that season. I had not watched The Mole, but Dom has been somebody that grew on me over there. Zay's in here. Carousel from a show I would never watch, Sexy Beast. I skipped that. And so on. You got some other folks showing up and whatnot. And I think that, names like Francesca being here, who was one of the most popular folks in all these reality shows. She clearly shakes things up pretty early in this. So it's to think like, what does a room look like with Joey and Shane, or
we know what that room looks like because Joey has smashed 2 of the participants who are there already. So yeah,
right. So that's the intrigue. Like, there's a lot of like already once assumed, but now really brought to the light of what these folks' life were after the show and what we've seen on social media, and then like their shows, then their after the show shows that they had. So like getting all these folks into one room, what would it be? And they have to find their perfect match. And again, it does have this love element, but certainly it has this very game element of it too that really throws away the legitimacy of finding their perfect match. But here we are once again in one of these reality shows. But yeah, I'm done talking my talk about what I initially thought. Let's get into our first 4 episodes, so I'll give it to you.
All right. Well, first 4 episodes. First episode 1, we have them initially. Everybody's meeting, right? They're all figuring out who's who. Some are obviously familiar faces. Some of them have met throughout the course of, I'm sure, meeting in Hollywood, right? Because they've all been on Netflix shows. I'm sure sometimes, some point in time, their paths have crossed. And so, I'm just gonna jump into who matches because I think we can go from there. So in episode 1. Carousel. I mean, this chick is crazy, and she deserves to be exactly who she's with. They match each other. So it's Carousel and Joey.
Listen, I'm not going to even give her crazy. I'm just going to say she has very erratic energy and perfect for Joey. To be honest, because we're all talking about the first 4 episodes, she actually is the only person who's being true to herself the entire time. It's hard to say that she's been because your big theme is who's actually being honest in this, and she seems to be the only person who seems to be completely honest right now, which is
she's honest, but she is she's young. I'm just gonna say that as somebody who's older looking at the show, listening to like what she actually says when she talks about Joey, how he's been in and out of her life, and this and the third.
We've been here.
Weird. It's like, so okay, all right, cool. So it's Carousel and Joey, Inez and Shane, who kind of like by default a little bit are like, hey, you want to get to know each other? I kind of want to get to know you. All right, cool. Then you have Francesca and Dom, both of whom were intentional, but they're very much playing the game. And then you have Savannah and Nick by default because nobody picked. Nick waits too long to shoot his shot, and Savannah essentially waited too long, right? Because she wanted Nick to do her dirty work. So that's default. And then you have Zay.
Hold on. That's a take right there. You don't just slide that in there because she's never admitted that, but that's absolutely on par. That was not exposed in the beginning, but by the 4th episode, it's very clear that Savannah is truly the puppet master here. She did want Nick. She set Nick up to go after Francesca that she could go after Don, and she never wanted to go. She never ever made effort in going after him. So that's a take, but it's very much on point. Don't slide that in there like
I do what I can. And then we had Zay and Sue-Ann, and for real, for the first 3 episodes, I got this girl's name super wrong. I kept calling her Aunt Sue. I was very confused. Anyway, definitely default, and just Annie Sophie, is that her name? Damn, all the way jacked up. Definitely default. So and Zay is still Zay, right? Because I remember Zay from what is that? The Ultimatum, right?
Yeah.
So very, very interesting. I mean, when you look at the couples and you look at the personalities, you look at what you know about them based on the small snippets that is provided from their previous shows, you kind of think to yourself, all right, well, not too bad. I can kind of see it, but there are just some things that weird me out. I think the thing is when you're an adult watching the show, like a real adult, like you've had life experiences adult, and you see some things, you're just like, yeah, nah, that ain't gonna work. Like, what are you doing right here? Like, that's crazy to me. And of course, the good old Lachey's Nick right now has a game for every episode, right? And so I believe in the first episode we have
The water game.
the water game, right? Which, ironically enough, the default couple, Savannah and Nick, end up winning because everybody else gets splashed.
Yeah, so hold on, because I wanna throw some labels. I wanna change the labels a little bit. I don't necessarily call Savannah and Nick the default couple, but I do say they're the we're friends, so we're gonna do this friend strategy way of going out, because the real default is the last two in Annie, whatever, Sophie and Zay, where they're just like, whoa, it's nobody else, so I guess we're left. And I'm like, oh, that's by default. And folks, if you haven't watched the show, then yes, you have to pair with somebody to sleep with them, not like sex, but sleep in the same room with them. And it's called like the locking. So right now, while there's an even number of 5 and 5, everybody has a set. But as we know, more people will come, which offsets the numbers to 2 more on either male or female. So
that means more people will get eliminated.
Right. Which I just want to quickly say, the eliminations are very lackluster. They're just kind of like, oh, they're gone. I wanted them to be more dramatic, especially what happens like episode 3. I really wanted
just
to
like sitting on the couch. Oh, it's us two? Nobody picked us? Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Right. Because for real, that's what it is. I'll turn up with the elimination. Give me a whole little scene of me turning up. If I'm out, I'm out, you know.
Yeah.
But so the water game. Here's my first thing with the game, because the games are I'm about to call them litmus tests, compatibility tests. And in the water game, you know, as you see, folks are under the things, and whoever can know more about their partner, the water falls on them. I just kept thinking to myself, like, is there not a way, because as we see, really a theme going down after this episode is cheating the games. You can cheat the games for sure. And this one, I kept thinking, like, can they not hear the water being poured over their head to know which one's wet? How are they refilling the water once they splash? You can't have them both up there because there's a series of questions, you know? So at some point they have to be refilled. And I just kept thinking, how did they refill the water? And how can folks, if you can hear it, then you can guess like, I hear it on that side. I hear it on that side. I mean, some people's ears are good or not. So this I could not get past the idea of like the resetting of these games. So I'm bringing this up to say, like, I became disinterested in sort of the competitiveness of the game. I felt like you can cheat every game. Now it's just the result of how messy were these games going to be, which the big thing from this is Joey revealing that he wasn't over his ex. And Carousel completely justifiably so said, well, why are you here then?
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
I mean, well, I thought, because so him and Shane had similar polls, right? I believe so. But you know, Inez knew that because of course Shane is coming from a previous engagement, right? It's like a few months ago. And so, but Joey tells his story and he's like, well, it was 4 years ago. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, you just made this way worse, dude. What do you mean? Like, it's 4 years ago. 4 years is a very long time. 365 times 4, my God. That is a lot of goddamn days for you to still not be over your ex and be on this show talking about something you want to be with her. So for me, it was just like, I don't know. I remember Joey from The Circle season 1, and he seems like the same Joey who's fun. And, you know, he's here, he's living his life. And I think that maybe as we get into the episodes more, he does seem like he wants a relationship, but I'm not really taking him seriously. I just think that it definitely was a slap in the face, considering that he had been on and off with, what is her name? Carousel. You know, so for quite some time now, that for him to be saying this, it's like, well, you know, she's right. Like, why are you here? What are you doing here?
He wasn't on the game where he had to compete for love, so he didn't understand the stakes. He got popular off of The Circle, which The Circle season 1 and all the seasons that came after it. So he's the OG winner. So there's a lot of fame as he thinks he's a celebrity, as Carousel mentioned. And he just ran with that. He said, I got hot, so I'm going to run with this and do what I can do. And I think that now that there's actually an intimidation factor here with folks potentially wanting Carousel. I mean, that's how guys are. I'm a guy and I've been there when you got something good and you think it's all good until you don't step up. And then somebody threatens you. Then you're like, oh, shit, I need to step up. And that's what we saw with Carousel and Chase. And again, this is why I'm like kind of team Carousel, because it seemed kind of wrong for what she did. But at the same time, well, it made Joey tighten up, and I am curious to see how far they go, because truly, when you talk about the discrepancies of the couples, that's not one I'm worried about. I don't see it being a problem after, I'm jumping ahead. Obviously, again, we're talking about the first 4 episodes, but as we've seen these first 4 episodes, they're too, I think they got the most security right now, which is the wildest thing, which I would love for us to talk at the end of this season to talk about not only the pairings, but because of the shows that these folks came from, does that also create a dynamic that's worth considering? When you have somebody like Shane, who's a hardcore lover, he came from a show to love. His whole focus is love. He's not about the games because he was on the show that did not have games. You got Joey, who's all about games because he came from a show that's all about the game that had nothing to do with love. I didn't watch the mold, so I'm not sure what's the dynamic there. The Ultimatum makes you kind of in the middle here with this, Well,
so from what Dom explained, remember the Mo is basically about lying and cheating. So let that sink in for a moment. Okay. So we got it's a lot of different things happening in these shows. And Shane, I believe it is a very much so what you said, because if you think about the characters based on their shows, that's how they're playing. Shane has always been very much like, I'm not here for the game. He's like, I don't want to play. At some point in time, he says that in episodes, in episode I think 2, because he's like, I don't want to do this. Like, listen, if this not working for you, then that's cool. Like, I'm gonna leave. Like and I think for some people it might come off as giving up, but he's like, I'm not here for this, right? Like this game is not what it's about. Whereas Dom, ironically so, for me, comes off very honest and vulnerable. And so watching him go through the process, it's also interesting watching all the egos, because the male egos and the women, it's in here. It's so high and so strong and so big that it gives you this idea of, I think sometimes when you see how big the ego gets, you also know what the vulnerability is as well. If you pay close attention enough, you can see what the insecurity is. And so I think it's interesting. But like we said before, whenever a couple wins a challenge, they get to bring in 2 new people. They can bring in somebody for themselves, or they can bring in somebody for somebody else. And in the episode 1, Carousel gets a date. And I think even Savannah brings in a date for herself, if I'm not mistaken. And so
Savannah and Nick wins because it appears that this friendship tactic is working. And the other interesting thing I just want to quickly point out is that Francesca was completely upset that her and Dom didn't win. And I mean, this was the first glimpse to me of saying, like, is she about love, or is she truly about the competitiveness, or she just likes the attention? She comes from Too Hot to Handle, clearly about attention. She then appears on Love is Blind After the Altar season 1, starting the drama here. I'm sorry, I don't see the hype with her, period. And it's not even a look thing. I just think that, like, the way how people are ready to just drive the car off the cliff for her, I don't see it. I really don't see it.
Let's say the F word. What's the F word? I was really like, is this what we're doing right now, Francesca?
Right.
The F word, but nonetheless,
And I should mention, like, I am kind of like, we're talking like looks wise, I am team Savannah, but like feelings wise, I'm team Shane. I want Shane to win. Like, I truly want Shane to win. I got my thoughts about his situation in the previous show, but I am team Shane. So like, that's where I'm at, like, emotionally and visually. But like, Francesca is definitely just the hype. I'm just not buying it.
I was kind of team Nick, honestly, but as we get through these episodes, it's because for me it's very apparent that Nick is super, like, Shane
knows guys. It's the wildest thing. Shane can when it comes to assessing folks. I'm not sure about how he knows women, but guys, he be like, oh, this person did spot on every single time, spot on. I know people probably are indifferent with him, but when he talks, I'm just like, yeah, he's on to something.
Yeah, he really do, because he said that Nick was unsure. He doesn't know what he wants. And as you watch Nick throughout the first 4 episodes, you're like, he wants to stay. So this is why he's with Savannah. And then you're like, okay, so what's your next move? So now he's trying to make his way. But I think that if anything, I would say less unsure, more insecure, like not confident enough to, because this is a very different kind of game where you have to go after that person. He hasn't done any of that really. Or he's done it, but he hasn't made it known. So he's not very direct. So, and it's actually Sophie and Sophie who gets the date. So it's
Yeah, because they bring in Chase
and
for
Calvin.
Carousel and Calvin to replace Zay, to try something much, which short lived for my man Chase here, but you know.
Yeah. Happens, but I think that you just watch the workings of it and how it comes out. Chase coming in was a very interesting turn of events because he definitely did what we would want Nick to do, but in a more brash kind of way. Chase was like, "Oh, you don't want me? Oh, you're taking? Okay, cool. I'm going to the next person. Like, I'm here to find my match." And it feels very weird because it's like, are you really looking for love? It's like so here's the thing: there isn't any money on the line in any of these shows except for the circle, right? So there's money on the line for this show. So ideally, you should be actually looking for your person because that would be the whole point.
Chase coming in shakes everything up because Chase said the most important line to exactly what you're saying. Chase said we all had clout, so we should be at even playing fields, and people are still acting as if they don't, which is the other element, is that people are looking at this as an opportunity, opportunistic folks of saying like, more attention for me.
Yeah.
I knew what I didn't do right the last time in terms of my branding. The folks who had the biggest mouths or the most controversial moments obviously got the residuals on the back end. I'm sure folks of mindset like, I'm not going to be quiet this time. I'm not going to be humble this time. I'm absolutely going to make sure I'm talked about this time for my brand.
Yeah.
And it Chase comes in and just like, pull back the curtains, like let's get what it is. For sure. For sure.
He came in very much so like a grenade. So of course we're talking about some of these extremely crazy games. Episode 2 for me, definitely. Listen, I was over here watching the episode, actively putting hand sanitizer on my hands, right? Because there's nothing, and in my head, I'm like, where is the Listerine? This is so gross. Like, I hope they have mouthwash because instantly all my germophobia was just like, this is nasty. This is so this is the kissing game that they have in episode 2 where you are blindfolded, you get to kiss. You're supposed to be kissing everybody, but we don't know if they actually kiss everybody because they only show like 2 or 3 people that they kiss, and basically they get to rate everybody. Now mind you that the lowest rating on here the lowest race was Carousel from Chase, which is number 1. Mind you, they had kissed previously in episode 1 because she was trying to make Joey jealous, right?
Or make herself sure. That was my other thing. Yeah.
That's very true too. Very true too. And so it's very interesting. Nick got like 9s across the board from everybody that he kissed, which was very, very interesting. Did any of these kisses surprise you? Like any of the rankings or like what they...
Yeah, I mean, because watching it, I had a thought, and then like reflecting back, obviously now I have another thought. I thought, first of all, Chase rating Carousel low, I thought like, man, that's brutal. But then I thought, that's actually not a bad idea because you completely slam that door shut for any possibility. That is the nicest, meanest way to say like, this is done. Thank you for bringing me here. This is done. Because clearly when Chase came in, Chase wanted to have a conversation with everybody. Chase was trying to me, Chase does come off like the villain for a while till the real villain is revealed. But Chase was going out there doing the research. He wanted to see who was what, who was talking to who, and he went and got it head on. He didn't ask for answers from anybody else. He went and got his own answers. So him coming in from Carousel kind of feeling him, but as I said, probably looking for answers for herself. He shut the door down on her by saying that, like, yeah. And granted, was he being honest or was he just doing what needed to be done? It doesn't even matter because we clearly hear folks like Savannah says, I lied. So here we are with the second game of folks hijacking the game. Hijacking the game. The game does not have any integrity to it. So Nick coming in with a high score, that was surprising. Inez coming in, I'm like,
that's what was interesting because all she kept saying was, French people, we kiss. Like, this is what we do.
I just was not expecting her to be the good kiss. Now, granted, I was going to say Francesca was going to be one. I knew she was going to be Esther, but I again, trying to rid the game. She's figuring if I give the most and rouse these boys up, then they'll vote high for me. Um, so I wasn't surprised, sort of say, by the score. I was more surprised about each person's tactics when they started to get revealed. And so a couple of things I want to throw in here, because I didn't like this game. I didn't like the game because we sure that these folks probably kissed the night that they spent together, and or folks can feel people's body size, facial hair, depending on where your hand is moving.
Right. Yeah.
You're a guy, I can easily like wrap my hand around a woman's waist and say, okay, this one's a little bit, okay, oh, I know who this is. So, you know, and then you can obviously be vindictive, or you can be, you know, strategy in terms of how I want to do it. So I feel like the game was nothing but adding drama. There's really no stakes in all of this, you know. But yeah, it's just funny to see who feelings for her, because the funniest of all of this happens to be Dom, who was completely butthurt because he was only at 8, which is the wildest, that he would not let this go. Which it shows later on in another episode when they were doing the push-up thing, off to the side, seeing Shane on his back doing the push-ups. And I'm sorry, Chase was doing the push-ups. So Dom did the push-ups, and like I remember I messaged you. I said Dom looks like he's super competitive to this. That if he did not win this, he would be somebody who would snap. My point is that these games are living rent-free in these guys' heads after they is in. The kissing game bothered Don. The push-up game bothered Chase. That's why he let Shane on his back to prove that he can do it. Because he was talking like, oh, anybody could do it, but you had to go back and test it just in case, because when it mattered, you didn't want to do so. So I again, it's just about the drama that comes from out of it. It's really not about the game. It's really not about who wins the date or who wins. It's just the drama here. And yeah, Savannah line was the one I was just like, okay, that's unnecessary, but we know you're all game.
Savannah has been gasoline to the fire since she walked through the door. Like, it's really crazy, because some of these folks that you don't really realize are doing it. You know what I mean? By the time, so Zay and Calvin don't make it, right? They're gone. Then we have a few people that came in. We have Izzy that comes in. And Georgia that comes in. It's a lot that's happening, that's going on. Savannah going after Dom like with no remorse, like just going over there to talk to him. And to me, it was like, I mean, she's right though, right? Like, this is a game. We're here to find our perfect match, but like, they've also been together now for like how many episodes? I mean, I think it's a little. It's ballsy for sure. I mean, if there's any other way I'd rather go out, I guess it is balls to the wall.
I mean, but her back is against the wall here, and it's to her own fault. She wanted to play the friend zone with Nick. Nick won everybody over with the kiss. Nick was kind of in favoritism in the beginning as well too. Folks always say like, "Oh, Nick is a good guy," and da 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 da. Yeah. And so the fact that Savannah is puppet master, folks can see that. Folks clearly see that it's just a game. And she pretty much ate her own words. When Nick was trying to start something with the kiss, she was just like, I know Nick think like, oh, we had a good kiss, so we can do something. But no, Nick. So Savannah, so how long you think you're going to be able to play this game before everybody around you is going to be able to witness it? So yes, they did it right. Shane was having not Shane. So they bring in Izzy, who I thought was a good match for Shane, personality wise. And then they bring it in and sort of for Nick too. They said it kind of looks right. And then Georgia, who comes in, is just like bring Georgia in. That's kind of what it goes about. Which Chase is wild. Chase is a wild dude, because after having the perfect winning the perfect kiss game and then completely just like, all right, so glad we won that, but also this isn't working. I feel Chase. Like, I'm sorry if I seen George on the board, I'd probably say like, probably need to bring this one in and kind of see how it brings up. So like now we see folks bringing folks in for themselves. Yeah,
because he was the first one to do it. He brings in Georgia for himself, right? He decides to go on a date, and Sophie Ann comes back and she's telling Nick that he has a date, and then she's, she explains that, well, Chase is not here because he picked a date for himself. And at the end of the night, unfortunately, Sophie Ann and Savannah are gone. And I just think that it's interesting that people are starting to do this. But from Chase, it's not surprising. But when we get to episode 4 and Francesca does it to Dom, and they've been going strong since day one, it's definitely heart-wrenching to see him hurt, because you can tell, even though that like he's, and I'm gonna say, yeah, you're totally right. He does not, I mean, Dom is cool, but I also feel like there's a little piece of Dom that's not very all the way there. And like the slightest thing, because if you're willing to hold your emotions so tight, like you're so wound up, like somebody's trying to give you a hug because they know they're in this process with you, they understand what it's like for you to go up there, come back down without your person, like that hurts. But he's like, nah, I'm good, like don't do that, like, yeah, you know what I mean. And then you later on see him off to the, I guess their confessional, so to speak, and he's crying, and it's like, dude, like, people can be here for you. Why not take this comfort? Because you obviously need it. But the game is getting wild. It's last we saw, Damien is going to be brought in from Love Is Blind, and I have my
you have skipped a very important thing we have to talk about real quick.
What did I skip?
So first thing, because like you gave and we're talking about Nick Lachey here. You gave Nick a lot of commentary about like his tactics, and when Nick appears, it's just like, oh, here we go. But I do want to mention that like Nick giving sort of the ultimatum almost, but when you win the games, you enter the boardroom. Understand that Nick's saying you could bring in 2 people to basically fuck up a good relationship. Right. 2 people to create a good relationship, or break up you can break up a strong couple. Right. You could bring somebody else in to give them a couple, or you could personally go on a date that you want if you want to explore something. To me, I mean, like, again, this is the true villain here. Like, if you see somebody's good, why would you want to do that? I know it's a game, but like, aren't we all rooting for everybody's happiness, or are we not?
No, we're not. Like, this is a game, and Nick Lachey is going to have another season of something else that's going to cause more traumatic harm and damage to somebody else. Like, that's the sad part about it. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't really. I was with them for Love Is Blind on the first season, right? Because I thought to myself, this is an amazing way to meet people. And the first season was
great opportunity for people to get on television.
Yeah, I mean, it was, but the first season was really people.
No, for sure.
You know what I mean? Sure. So now it's like with any other reality show per se that's based around relationships. We have so many of them that I can't tell what's true or what is people getting ready, because like I just happened to look at this one guy on another show, right? And the first season was maybe like 4 years ago. His followers, he's at like 200K right now, like, and he's still posting, getting thousands of likes and this and the third. It's a game, like the whole.
Yeah, it's really not a game about love. It is truly a game, but it is also about platforms and exposure. So
yeah.
But I wanted to go back to episode 3 really quick, because I feel like the most important conversation and one of the biggest moments of the first 4 episodes is the Francesca Savannah conversation here. Now.
Oh yeah. How did I miss that?
So let's call it what it is. First of all, the thing is, who's right and who's wrong here in this conversation. And overall about this, was Savannah wrong for approaching Dom? Was Francesca wrong for how she came at Savannah about her approaching Dom? Like, understanding these things. And again, like, this is episode 3, so this is before Francesca really sets off the most shocking of the first 4 episodes, where you're so dumb and you're so like, leave my man, and one, you're mad because he didn't win the game. One, you're mad because he was actually coming at you in a respectable way. You want these guys to be out for blood like sharks when they see you. And Dom's like, I'm gonna take my time. Which, listen, Dom, if you're watching this, I'm with you, because if a person is going at a person the same way the entire time and it didn't work, why would you take the same tactics? So you come off different. Right. And she said, I'm used to guys chasing me, but she's feeling him. I think she's feeling him for his look, his aesthetic, his toweriness and whatnot. But don't appreciate who he is as a person. So he comes off nice and whatnot. and he's doing all the right things. He's playing the games, being honest. He's not in any type of other contention and whatnot. So Savannah coming over to talk to him, I don't see there being a problem. He handled it right, but also too because Savannah is desperate before she's out the door, and Francesca's just like, okay, no, and they start throwing bombs at each other. And honestly, when it comes down to the argument, I'm going to say that Francesca definitely won. I thought she stated more actual facts than Savannah just being, just clapping back in a way that just to make her even more mad or get under her skin. And obviously Savannah was definitely bothered because we have to talk about what happened after this as well too. You know what I mean? But understand that like this conversation I thought was one of the big moments. But again, what did you think about this, and who did you think like sort of won this argument?
I feel like it was just, it was messy. I feel like one of the biggest things that stood out to me that what Franny said is that you could have come to me woman to woman and said that you wanted to talk to him, and that could have been a conversation, but instead you went behind my back. And while I do believe that is true, also her and Fran just ain't friends. Like I've never really seen them engaging like
they're not
that.
friends.
So it's weird that she would think that Savannah would do that. Secondly, this is a game, right? This is open forum, and to me, when Savannah decided to go at Dom, I think, and this is probably going to be controversial, I think that if they were so strong with each other, which that is going to go into a whole nother thing, I would not tell anybody that had you come to me on the first night, this might have been different. If you are with somebody and you are really with them, then that shouldn't even been his response. And Savannah wouldn't have had any more lighter fluid to throw, because then it would have just been dead and done right there. I think Savannah is who she is, right? Like this is not anything far from who she played in The Circle. And so I think that, of course, Francesca won on some points and Sav won on some points, because Savannah was really like, so are you guys boyfriend or girlfriend? Like, I just want to make sure that you guys are in an actual relationship. And she was like, yes, we are in an actual relationship. And so she was like, well, when did that happen? Like, did you guys confirm that? All these questions, which are valid ass questions, but also annoying as hell, because for you to be like, he's mine, like, don't worry about it. And then for her, Savannah, to go over and talk to him again, and Franny is like, don't talk to her. And he's like, I was just pouring some wine. Like, I'm just here, So you make all this big hoopla. The argument in itself is just, Francesca could have had that conversation differently, but drama and mess is what gets the ratings. And I'm clearly sure that that's what it was about, versus her being a woman to woman or ladylike at any aspect, for sure.
Carousel facial expressions the entire time was the funniest thing.
Carousel and Sophie Ann looking at each other, non-verbals, but when they were whispering, because Carousel was whispering, she was like, I'm so uncomfortable. Like the whole time I'm just sitting, and neither one of them left. That's what the crazy part is. I know.
Me neither. I'd be there right. I'd be right there with Carousel. Was entirely funny at first, the episode. I mean, the entire first episode, but episode 3, when she called Chase COVID because Chase wanted to go on another date, and how she kind of correlated it to, I was like, yeah, she's actually right. Chase is pretty much COVID right now. Yeah. But to this though, like, I mean, all of what Savannah saw was pretty spot on considering what happened in episode 4. So it's kind of telling. And I know if they do a reunion for this is the moment right here. Yes, this is the moment.
Right after that.
But again, I think that, I mean, Francesca, she was very valid because of all the little pettiness that Savannah was trying to hit with. Francesca was just debunking them. But like, are they together? Yeah, that's the real big question, because it comes into question again, episode 4. But like, understand that Francesca is a person who has a script. If it's out of the norm, she doesn't like it. She wants dudes on her to their complete demise. She wanted Dom to be more romantic. Dom had to be more aggressive because that's what he wanted. He's like, I'm gonna take a chill. I'll leave some of the kiss, for a bigger moment. I didn't want to add the physicality into things. And the moment he do, she get what she want, and it's really telling. Because the moment she get what she wants, she's like, cool. Because she has the moment like, yes, he did it.
Yeah.
But her mind was already in another place. And I mean, like, true villain. And I don't know, man. And then episode 4, I thought this was another thing you would bring up: the double date swap with Nick and Inez and Shane
Yeah.
and Izzy. Inez is really interesting here because
Very.
she wants Nick. Nick wants her. Nick doesn't want her. Yeah. Then she's not sure about Shane, and she's not sure about Shane because why isn't she sure about Shane? I forget. It's something that I guess is
he was different outside versus inside.
She does not like Shane's introvertness, and now.
Yeah,
I don't think this is fair. I think this is just the incompatibility of two people. I think Inez is very outgoing with a very sort of conservative styling of things. Nick is very much introvert with like extroverted personality traits.
Yeah.
He he steps into a room. He's easily the person you look at. He doesn't mind speaking, but if you really look at him, he's super nervous. He moves around. It almost comes off like he's shy, but he's truly an introvert. And I think that's just the issue. I think that pairing him with Izzy does come off interesting as well too. But I think that Shane is just a monogamous type of dater where he's just like, I just want to focus on one person at a time. And Izzy's like, yeah, Shane, it makes sense, but I'm also going to make sure it makes sense, this is the game here.
Yeah.
This is the game.
That was very interesting because, of course, Inez, and this was one of the things that stuck out to me. She's like, this is the most romantic matching ever, right? It was just like, hey, yeah, all right, let's do this. And I think that, honestly, I feel like, again, Shane is spot on. Nick doesn't really know what he wants, because if you were feeling Inez and you had already gone on the date with Izzy, I would have just stuck with Izzy. I would have stuck with Izzy throughout the night, and then Inez or Shane would have figured it out. And then if that didn't work, then the next morning we could have decided to swap. But here they make it uncomfortable. Inez is already upset because it wasn't romantic enough for him to ask her. They're just swapping people, and then the night is thrown off. And by the morning time, Nick is like, this ain't working for me. You know what I mean? Which I thought was funny as shit, because I'm not going to hold you. Like, she literally was like, we went to bed at 4 a.m. We woke up and he's like, this is not working for me.
Wow. You know what, though? Nick is one of those people who came in as an underdog, wasn't getting no love. Back then, they didn't want me. Now I'm hot. He's losing his mind. He's losing his mind now. Now he's like, I'm getting all these joints. And I thought, and I'm not sure where this falls into the thing, but like, after the incident here, okay, so now that we get Georgia and Izzy coming in, Georgia's with Chase, Carousel's with Joey, and then you have the swapping pair. So that's 4 of the 5 couples, which only leaves Dom and Francesca. So now that Anne Sophie and Savannah are on outside, Savannah gets, Nick comes up and says, I'm going to pursue with Inez, and Savannah drops a mini bomb here where she's just like, well, what about me? And, they
don't know what we did last night. And I'm still trying to figure out, what does that mean? Savannah, please come on and tell me. Please leave me a comment and let me know.
and honestly, I don't think nothing happened. I
don't think anything happened either.
I think that she's trying to imply, like, if we want to fake it to say like we elevated things, then we can. Because if he had got that, I think his whole mojo would have been different.
Yeah, for
his whole mojo, he would have been like, oh yeah, I got that. We're good now. Like, she's feeling me now. After you done wanted it for the entire time, he wouldn't have swapped that quick. No, but he certainly would have. He certainly would be like, I'm where I want to be,
because she wasn't honest, so she don't have feelings for Nick. After the kissing game, she said, like, it's a no for me. So like, you don't get to stay and just ride the coattails to be here when I'm actually looking for love. So like, I messed with Inez. I'm sorry, it is what it is. And she's like, well, just go. And he's like,
out. Yeah, out. Yep, you tried to play the game, played yourself out, and Anne Sophie, it's really not her fault. She just was casualty of the dysfunctional of the game. Now, the other thing is the game for episode 4. There was a couple of things that was funny. Number one, when they were doing the push-ups thing, and Carousel said that Joey could do 22, and Francesca laughed her out. that was unnecessary for them to add that in there. She laughed her out so bad, so bad. And you know what really pissed me off in this part? When it came down to naming the countries, and Dom ass couldn't name one country, just one country in Africa. Alaska. So for whatever reason, Alaska becomes a country, but you couldn't name one country in Africa.
Listen, like I told you, I was not surprised, nor did I have any expectation that he would, because Dom don't look like he is all the way black, and I don't think that he
doesn't matter.
Studied.
Doesn't matter.
All he needed to do really was this. I can't. All I know is that I wasn't surprised at all. Like none of it was surprising to me when I looked.
Africa might as well not even be a continent at this point. The way how they just overlooked it. I mean, they were just like, oh well.
Yeah, of course.
They was like, okay, there's China. Oh, that's Russia. So they get that right. For whatever reason, they get that right. And a whole other continent of Africa, and they were just like, nope. Nope. It's cringy, folks. It is cringy. And I also want to say that I love this moment with Chase in Georgia giving up on a tamale challenge. I thought that was probably the most genuine moment of the entire series thus far. Georgia, for everybody, I think Georgia really tried, and she broke down. You can really see that this was difficult for her.
That shit is hot as fuck. I don't know what he was thinking. The guys did not play that smart. You supposed to start off at 3 and 5 and 7. How you end up at 22? That's stupid.
It's like anybody who's ever been on eBay when folks are trying to rig the bids. This is what that was here. But I do commend Chase for scaling back the competitiveness to realizing that Georgia's struggling.
She's really in chairs. She's really in pain. This is hard for her. So
because if this was Dom and Francesca, it ain't going down like that.
Oh yeah, no, they would have been chewing and they would have just been crying and pooping on there.
No. I think Dom would have been. I think Francesca would have gave up, and I think Dom would have went at her for that. I think he would have completely changed his. Because again, the push-up thing. The push-up thing, looking at him afterwards, he just looked like one of those I win by any means type of guy. Like you can see a side of him that just was a little uncaged, and I think the competition aspect made him a little uncaged. Because at the time, let's talk about Dom in general. Very soft-spoken, gentleman. I'm gonna take the soft approach. He turns into this animal doing the push-up thing, and then he's emotional as the Francesca leaves him. You're not going to tell me that there ain't a ball of emotion that's going on in this guy right now. That's just not stable.
Absolutely, there is. I just don't know. I feel like that would be a stretch. Not a stretch, but that would be very shocking to me if that would have happened, because I just feel like he's still very concerned with her feelings and how she feels and how her well-being. So I don't know if he would have. I think he would have been disappointed. But I think ultimately he might have just been like, well,
yeah, I don't know. And then I think there was something else I was going to mention to that too. So
the hot tamale.
They talked about the hot tamale, the kid. So the kissing game that they kind of do afterwards with Joey and whatnot. Do you think Shane overreacted because of how Nick took his chance here with Izzy and just went way overboard here?
I think so, but I also think no, let me rephrase it. I don't think so, because at this point now, Nick has gone after both women that Shane have been interested in, not on purpose, right? But because he didn't do it earlier before things got too deep, right? He should have had a conversation with Inez way before that. And the fact that he gave up Izzy essentially, and now is coming back for Izzy, that would annoy me too. So yeah, I'm a little annoyed. You're supposed to be my guy. Like I fuck with you, but you're doing a lot right now. Like just pick one, stick with it, and like ride it out. Like what are you doing?
And that's 1,000%. And matter of fact, I will say this too. I know a lot of people are like pro, like if there's an issue, go talk to your significant other. But I'm also pro, like if there's an issue with another man, then go see that man. And that's what happened. Yeah, that's what happened. They had the conversation, and Shane laid it out. Say, I'm not feeling this. Like this ain't a game, because Shane knows that feelings are real, and he knows how quickly it could be real, and then it's not. And he wants to make sure that nobody else is trying to yo-yo him around on these reality shows. It's sad. It's just sad how it is, but you know, that's the Lachey-ness going on in the Netflix world. But even though we know that Damon is coming, and I don't even know what the other guy is, but I know we got Bartise, which, spoiler alert, if Bartise is coming, that means that the circle, the Love is Blind after the altar, even though there was talks that him and Nancy had kind of, they hinted at it in the trailer that him and Nancy was going to start dating again. Looks like that ain't a thing. I got thought about that, but I'll leave it at that. Mitchell, coming from the last season of Circle, who was with, I can't think of her name, but they were teaming up to be Jennifer. Mitchell has had no personality.
Oh,
Xanthi, yep. Mitchell has had no personality because he got kicked off originally by himself because he was kind of saving face, and we saw him become more and more of, you know, playing the Jennifer character, but we really didn't get to know who he is in terms of just him as himself, but we never seen any aspect of dating, which I had even mentioned when we was talking about the Circle, like wondering why he didn't go as Xanthi, but they did mention like, oh, she has a bunch of guys. I thought that was telling because she didn't recant that. She was just kind of like, yeah. And so like, maybe there was a discussion of interest, and then it was just quickly like, okay, yeah. And then they was able to be cordial and go forward with almost winning the game. If you ask me, they played the hell of a game. They did really good, actually.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in seeing Mitchell come on the show at some point. But then there's Damien, who, okay, this is some bullshit. I think this is the first time I cursed this review.
No, it's not. But
the fact that like Francesca tried to completely dismiss it right away, I'm like, dog, this right here is every dude's worst fear. And this has nothing to do with rejection. This is the complete shadiness of how a woman could be. You one moment are just like trying to match couples, and you're just like, oh, I think that Damien, who are they trying to match up? Damien, and I mean, who's the women they're trying to match up?
So they match up Inez, but I think they initially brought Damien down for Inez.
No, Inez and Batista. No, right, exactly. When you talked about Inez and Damien, I'm like, that actually might work.
That's what I thought.
And she quickly was like, no. And Dom, who's now being a complete sucker, was just like, okay, I guess it doesn't work. Let's go. So Bartise and Inez does not work. Bartise's personality does not work at all. And the fact they tried to be like, oh yeah, well, we know he almost got married.
They went to the other guy, right? The other guy was like
long hair,
the guy from the mole, and Dom was like, no, I don't even want to go there.
Yeah, there's no reason.
And they threw Damien back because she was just like, yeah, we don't have any history, but you know. And then they brought down Bartise, and I'm thinking to myself, that's not a good match. And then she was like, I'm gonna bite the bullet, and I'm like, what?
Right. So it went from like, hey, so yeah, I know you got anything to be concerned about. No, he said, okay, and so you dismiss it then? If there's no past, that instantly should have been a lock. Right there. But it's just like, okay, and then she's like, okay, so I guess we're not going to use him then. I'm like, hold on, no.
I'm not gonna hold you. I saw that coming though. When she was like, there's nothing there. So here's the thing. I'm not gonna hold you. I feel like they slept together because what did she say? She was very specific. We have never kissed. Okay. I feel like they absolutely had sex. She wants to know if there's a possibility that there's gonna be something there. Yep. And in her way, I'm gonna bite the bullet. Please don't hate me, girl. I oughta this. So you remember that one movie? It's what is it? It's a Tyler Perry movie, and everybody never roots. Nobody ever roots. If you're a real good human being, you never root for seeing a woman get hit. But in that movie, A Family That Prays, when he slaps her across the bar, that was like one of those moments that I was like, "Hey, yo, Dom, don't let this woman do this to you. Like this is crazy."
Yep, complete shadiness and process of elimination. And then it goes back to like she just pulled the same move that Chase did, and even worse because she completely lied. She was like, "Oh, there's nothing, but I'm gonna bite the bullet and do so," and literally looked down in the face like it was a very uncomfortable moment, to be honest. But like coming back and Dom facing everybody and telling everybody that like Inez, we got you, girl. Cool, fair enough. Just add more into that issue right there. So Inez and Bartiz, which does not work.
Yeah,
On paper, it doesn't work for me.
I'll
but
be
we'll
surprised
see.
if there's anything that happens there, but I guess we'll see.
Doesn't work there. But then we see her sneak up on Damien on the beach, and guess who? And it's kind of like, yeah, okay, fine. But Dom is completely broken down. Everybody comes to console him. He breaks down twice, then and on an interview. Ugly tears, by the way.
Yeah.
But the big thing is, well, when Chase did this, how did it work out for him? When Chase decided to, when somebody else decided to go out to get a date for themselves, how did it work out for them? And so you had Chase who said, fine, I will go after Georgia, and that left Anne Sophie in the dust. Dom, you just allowed this girl to go after somebody else that potentially could leave you out on the dust, which we do see the quick little clip of what is to come, which I don't know if you got a chance to quickly like analyze it, but there's a couple little things in it that are interesting. And I think the big thing to kind of take from that is Dom's gonna be okay. Dom's gonna be okay. And it's gonna be interesting to see how it go. But
I think I'm rooting for Dom now. I mean, Shane is my dog, though. You feel me? But like, I definitely think that I'm rooting for Dom, just because throughout this, I think both him and Shane are probably the most authentic, and Nick too. Nick is just a little confused. I think that they're authentically looking, and when you've been through the ringer, that shit don't get no easier, and you don't really have a choice but to continue to be vulnerable. And so I'm interested to see the next 4 episodes, because I need to know. And honestly, I'm just hoping that Francesca runs into a wall or something, because she deserves that shit.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it. Anything else you to add? I'm looking at guys. I know we covered 4 episodes, but Francesca's the real villain here, folks. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and when Chase said it, he was absolutely 110% right, because he was new when he came in. He had only been there for 1 episode when he got a date for himself. Francesca's been there for 4 whole days with the same person for 4.
And I was gonna say, you talking about 4 whole days because 4 episodes, but the time lapse in this is a little confusing because they're throwing time cues. I'm like, so how much time is really passing? And like the way that they were like, oh, maybe a time jump, but then they're reflecting as if something happened last night. It gets a little bit confusing. So I'm not looking at the time cues no more. But yeah, Chase and Shane on the couch looking like, holy shit. Like Chase whole commentary by Francesca's on point, and this should change everybody's demeanor towards Francesca. Absolutely. I hate to say it, but she gotta go, folks. I have to strategically go after her at some point, because it's and granted, the next dudes that come in here, they're gonna find out, like, listen, just like they tried to do with Chase, they say, listen, like, some of these folks ain't loyal. They'll bring you in or whatever. You'll get brought in, but that don't mean they want you. So you need to pay attention. Francesca, and the matter of fact, it's gonna be interesting. Damien does not handle the conflict very good, because we seen on the Love Is Blind after the altar at that party, he was like, oh well, I guess we gotta go. Like, oh sir, like you need to like handle your situation. And Francesca's here to start more stuff, and it only confirms that Francesca was not just a friend there to be there for a friend. Like, this is very true. Yep.
Very true. All I know is that I'm ready for the next episode, but even more though, I'm ready for the reunion, because I'm ready for Savannah's clap back on Francesca and looking at Dom like, do you need me to console you? Because I'm ready. I'm just ready for the drama.
Granted, Dom's in a good situation. By the looks of it, looks like Dom got a new joint. I ain't gonna say who I saw, but Dom got a new joint. And if he somehow brings this back around to Savannah, I ain't mad at you, man. And who would have thought Chase, who I literally thought was the villain, goes on the good side for me now.
Yeah, he does. I mean, I feel like Chase, he did what he was supposed to do, and of course it looks frowned upon because it looks very savage, but the reality of it is, if you're really in here to look for your person, you got to mingle with everybody to see who you feel, who's vibing, who you feel like is compatible. You can't just go and just sit in a corner. Like, it might not have left a good taste in people's mouths, but when you're at a wine tasting, you don't just taste one bottle and be like, oh, this is it. No, you taste all 7 wines, and then you decide which one is best. So
yep. Yep. All right, folks, y'all get in the comments. Y'all let us know what y'all thoughts about the first 4 episodes of The Perfect Match. We're back next week. We'll be handling the next 4. And then after that, we'll be rounding it off with the final 4 episodes 9 through 12. So next week, 5 through 8, then 9 through 12 the week after that. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens if they do a reunion or something. We'll see. We're here for all the drama, all the messiness, all the Lachey-ness that they're going to add as we cover The Perfect Match. So, yeah, y'all get in the comments. Let us know y'all thoughts about this episode, these first 4 episodes. And we'll see y'all back.
We'll call him Nick Lachey instead of Nick Lachey.
Let us know, folks. We'll see y'all back next week. Big gold bell.